It would help if my mic was on, huh? So, one button that I forgot to push. There we go. Now we're good. Now we're cooking in with gas. Hopefully you can hear me now. There we go. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I literally forgot to engage one button on the console. I have four pieces of equipment that the mic runs through before it goes to my computer. Then I have two pieces of software after that. All right. So, yeah, there's a bunch of you in already. Some of you are doing the Daily Heart Me. Thank you so much. And for those of you who don't follow me, if you don't see the Daily Heart Me above me, then you can hit the gift gallery. You can hit the icon for gifts or gifts, and it'll show you the Daily Heart Me. You can send. It's only one coin, but it puts me on the map for the live. It helps with the algorithm. And as always, tapping, tapping, tapping. I'm guessing you guys got around 100,000 for Danny. I'm hoping to get about the same, but you know, I'm just a greedy bastard. OG Nerd, good to see you. Amy, good to see you. Blue Dog. Said hello to Sam, Kathleen, Johnny, Sandra, hello. Elegiac. Or is it elegiac? Because I know an elegy is a sad story or sad poem that is normally read for people who have passed. Glenn, hello. Tamara, hello. I'm sorry, Tamara, look at me. Tara, hello. Tara. All right, Danny, thank you for being the tapper in chief. So I'm gonna open up by talking about what's above my head right now. 2% of Americans. Some of you might have seen this. If you haven't, well, you're about to find out. Oh, and I forgot one last thing. I almost forgot one last thing. I didn't forget it. I remembered it later than I wanted to. But now we're good. All of my technology is doing what it needs to be doing, so I'm happy. Okay, so I'm going to read you some slavery facts, and I want to make it clear that I did not gather these facts. They came from Nicole Hannah-Jones, who is the founder of the 1619 Project. And it was in response to an idiot that didn't understand how statistics work, and you'll find out who that is at the end if you don't already know. 2% of Americans own slaves. That was the big claim, that slavery couldn't have been that big a deal because only 2% of Americans own slaves. So, you know, that's kind of true, but so what? What percentage of Americans own huge companies? Do these companies influence entire countries? They do, right? So just because, and I'm guessing that it's probably less than 1/1000th of a percent who own big companies, and yet these big companies rule over so much of what we do. But I'll go on to read the important facts so that we give that 2% context. Before 1865, I already fucked it up. Let me try that again. Before 1865, 63% of American presidents owned slaves. More than 1,800 members of Congress owned slaves. That's more than half the members of Congress. 26 of America's first 30 Supreme Court justices owned slaves. All but one of the people depicted on American money owned slaves. All but one. The majority of people who founded America and made America's laws built their wealth on slave labor. Slavery supported most of the American economy. Slaves produced 7/8 of the world's cotton supply. Slave-grown cotton made up 50% of all American exports. I repeat, slave-grown cotton made up 50% of all American exports. It was the number one export in America. At one point, New York considered seceding from the Union because slavery was a huge part of the financial markets. Side note from me, the stock exchange was named after the human stock of slaves because it was a slave market before it was a financial market. New York received 40% of all American cotton revenue despite not owning slaves. 60% of all slave ships sailed out of Rhode Island. All this to say that Jillian Michaels needs to shut the fuck up and leave statistical analysis to intelligent adults. And with that, I will start bringing people up. As always, I'm going to start with Danny. Anybody else who wants to come up, feel free to request up. Anybody else? I don't know. Hey, Traffic Man, what's happening?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm excellent. So, what'd you wind up with in likes for Danny's live?
It's somewhere around 103, I
103.
believe.
That's fantastic. Good work,
Yeah.
everybody.
I took an extra hour, but
Yeah, that's
that's
still a
okay.
fantastic pace, though. Over 25,000 an hour. That's good stuff. So let's see. I saw OG Nerd earlier. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see if she's still in the list. Multi-guess. Da 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 da. Nope, she's
Sam did
not
end up
there.
with more points than you before you left, so I thought you
Yeah,
might want to know
yeah.
that.
That's how everyone gets a
No.
chance to win is when I leave. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Hold on a second. For some reason, I'm not seeing. I know she's in there. Sam, accept. Where's OG? I don't see you on the list for some reason. Maybe she dropped off. I don't know.
And to be fair, Yoda was there for 3 hours. He beat me again. So to be fair,
Yeah, I mean, it was close though. What did I have? Like
oh
30? It was
no,
like 5 point
38.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you
no,
left at
no, it
38.
was like within a point or two.
Oh, was it? I
We
thought it
had a
was
good
like,
night.
yeah.
No,
No, you
it
had
was it was
38
very
when you left,
competitive
and he
tonight.
got it 45,
No, but
I think, when he
when I
finished.
left, I think it was like 38 to like 36 or 35, something like that.
Yeah, that
All right,
Yeah,
sounds
so it
about
something
was
like it.
right.
Yeah,
close. It was
yeah.
Yeah,
close.
no, it was fun tonight. You know, I'll get you one time. I'll get you
No
next
doubt,
time.
no
I won't
doubt.
say next time. I'll beat you
I
at
mean,
one day.
tonight was definitely close. I mean, everybody.
No,
There were a few people within striking distance. I just got like
Everybody
I
gets one.
still I'm so annoyed that I got the Rutger Hauer question wrong. That's just some horse shit. I mean, that the Roy Batty character is one of my favorite characters all time in science fiction, and the speech that he gives right before he expires is amazing. And and I was an usher when that film came out, and I used to watch it every day because I love that. I love that film. So I don't know. I don't know if OG Nerd is still with us here. Maybe she had to drop out, but if you're still here, OG Nerd, feel free to come up if you still want to. So anyway, I just read the opening because what Jillian Michaels said, like I had heard
Yeah.
what she said, but then I watched the episode, and what a complete jackass that woman is.
Yes.
This, and she's endemic of an entire country as far as the leadership is concerned, trying to eliminate and change and erase minority history in America, and it's disgusting. And anyone that wants to claim that it wasn't as bad as it was, or it was anything different than the brutal kidnapping, rape, torture, schmurder, and exploitation of innocent people is just not someone I want to talk to. Right.
Agreed.
And MAGA hats do this bullshit all the time. They did this yesterday to me. They were trying to claim that of the red states that are violent, they're all Democratic governors. And then when I proved that wrong, then it was like, oh, Democratic mayors. Or no, then it's cities, then it's counties. They're just desperate. They latch on to one piece of the information instead of looking at all of the data. So Jillian Michaels was close to the truth in numbers, that it was 2% of Americans, but to suggest that in and of itself means that slavery wasn't as big a deal as it was is just horseshit, and shows how dumb she is. And I don't know why
See,
anyone's
that's
listening to her anyway.
well, yeah, well, exactly. Like number one, why was she on the table talking in the first place? Like
I don't know.
what is her point? Like go, do some fitness shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, that's just
but
celebrity shit. And,
right,
like, so her claim to fame is exploiting overweight people because, not many people pay attention to this. I saw one episode of The Biggest Loser, and it happened to be the season finale, and they showed clips from the episode before the last episode, and I think some time goes by in between those two, something like 2 to 4 weeks in reality. And when I saw those people between the second to last show and the last show, they were starving themselves to try to win this money,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And they looked horrible. They
yeah,
looked horrible. They looked miserable, all to win money. And this show exploited that desperation and obviously encouraged this kind of behavior. You're
right.
you're gamifying health. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was basically a television show of Mr. Beast. You know what I mean? It's kind of what it was.
Well, I
In the
mean,
effect
most of the
of
time, Mr. Beast raises money for good causes, and it's not one
sure,
person that wins it. Mr. Beast helped cure, I think, something like thousands of people from clinical blindness.
correct,
And
correct.
he's,
Well,
right.
correct.
I just joined Mr. Beast's crusade for water in countries where water is scarce. I made a video post
Right, right.
to just
Yeah,
promote
yeah.
that
Jillian does not have that same effect, obviously. And
because she's an
uh,
asshole.
I right. And listen, I don't want to get ahead of the topic, and I apologize about speaking out of turn. But her comments of like 2% of Americans own slaves, right? Okay, I mean technically sure, but if we look at the southern states, wasn't it like 25 or 28% of those
Well,
people
were
own
you here?
slaves?
You were here while I was reading, so like I just read all the important stats. It's
Okay, I
not the
apologize.
to focus on the 2% number is complete. It's disingenuous. It's
Right,
deceitful. It's completely dishonest. To suggest that
exactly.
that is the only stat that matters is ridiculous. It is
Right,
absolutely ridiculous. The entire country ran on slavery. It was built on slavery. As I said, the stock market was named after slave stock, human slave stock. Okay?
correct.
It was a
Right,
slave trade market before it was a financial market. Slaves built Wall Street. Like, it is what it is. To try to
right.
deny this at this point is straight out of a chapter of the book 1984. You're trying to rewrite history, and it's just disgusting.
Right. Well, and I mean, there's been people ever since the end of the civil conflict, we'll call it for TikTok purposes. that have been trying to rewrite that history. I mean, we had a sitting U.S. president show. Oh my goodness, what was the name of that movie? The Triple K movie. Woodrow Wilson. He showed it in the
Oh,
White House, and A
hold
Birth of a
on.
Nation.
Birth of a
Birth of a
Nation,
Nation.
yes. Yeah, I
Yeah,
knew it had nation in
and it
it.
refueled. Yes, and it refueled this whole sentiment about all of this, and it's just I get so frustrated on this topic. I apologize.
I don't know what you're
you know,
apologizing for. You're like my ex-wife. She says I'm sorry constantly. I never know why. Uh,
well,
but
okay,
uh, um,
we'll leave it at that.
yeah. I mean, it's this is going to sound like one-upsmanship, and I really don't intend it to. But
No, no,
imagine your
please.
frustration times 1,000, because I've lived
And
this shit my whole life.
listen, I could never feel your frustration. Absolutely not. You know, because that we're yeah. Um, but I guess my frustration stems from the fact that like I live in Northern Ohio. And all my life, we have been taught about the Underground Railroad. We've been taught about how Ohio was this state where we were trying to free people and make sure that they could get away and get to Canada and places where where these freedmen could be free. You know what I mean? And growing up, once I became an adult and started getting out into the real world, the interactions that I had with people, I mean, we might as well just be the South. It's disgusting. It's it. Yeah,
I mean, once you get an hour north of New York City, it might as well be Texas.
sure.
Upstate New York is just, it's all rednecks. And, it varies very slightly, but that whole throughway corridor, I-87, that goes
Hmm.
up and eventually becomes the Northway, which heads to Canada. It's all these nutty Republicans that have never been anywhere. They rarely leave
Yep.
their town. The only thing they know what Donnie Dump tells them. It's
Yes.
pathetic,
Exactly.
man. It's really pathetic. And my mother remarried when I was 7, and at first we moved from Washington Heights to Elmhurst, Queens, which was not culture shock at all because it was almost identical. The only thing I can determine is that there are more Asians in Elmhurst, Queens than there are in Washington Heights. That
Sure.
was the
Sure.
only slightly noticeable difference. But my block looked like the United Nations. My school looked like the United Nations. I didn't know the world was different than that. I never had a cause to think of about it at all, right?
Right.
And then 2 years later, when I was 9, they moved again. And unfortunately, which is very on brand for my mother, she didn't bother thinking about how this move would affect me because she had the opportunity to 2 blocks over to be in the school zone that was integrated. And instead, I was in the school zone that was all salt to my one spot of pepper. And that's how I had to grow up. And it wasn't terrible right away. But as soon as I graduated and, 6th grade school, and went into junior high school, then it started getting pretty funky. And, it's just because my mother and stepfather were not smart enough to consider what it meant for me to be in a homogenized neighborhood,
Sure.
And so I've been dealing with this for 51 years now, 52 years actually. And it's really sickening that it's coming back, and it's propagated by the top level of American society.
It absolutely is. I had a coworker one time. He thankfully is no longer with us anymore. Well, he doesn't work for me anymore, is what I mean. and he came from like the eastern part of our county, which is very, very racist, just to say the least. And I remember one time we were driving down the street in our bucket truck, and there was a gentleman who was jaywalking, which listen, you live in any city, people jaywalk. It is what it is. And the words that came out of his mouth, he didn't say anything super heinous, but he said he like yelled the word boy. And I looked at him and I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" And he looks at me and he goes, "What?" And I'm like, "What are you what?" I was, yeah. And from that point in time, I knew who he was. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was like, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what happened when someone crashed out on my live and revealed their
Yep.
racist nonsense, and I was like, all right, you got to go.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it amazes me that there I don't know. Sometimes people overestimate the relationship that they have with me. Like there are people who I genuinely like on this app. There's people who I love on this app, but just because you see my face regularly or come to my lives regularly doesn't mean you fucking know me and doesn't mean we're friends. Okay? And there are people that will send me messages as if we're like buddies and shit. And I'm like, why? In my mind, I'm like, why the fuck is this person sending this shit to me?
Sure.
Like I had someone recently accuse someone who I have had interactions with very friendly on the app for months. And, guys invited me to his live, and I've seen his content and all that stuff, and this person was accusing him of something, and I'm like, why are you accusing this person of something? And everything you're saying doesn't even make sense. But if you're going to make an accusation, you got to have some proof.
Right.
And then I was told I didn't accuse anybody of anything. I said, you referred to him as a scammer and then said that he tried to steal likes and coins from me or some shit like that. That sounds like an accusation to me. And
Right.
then their response was meh NVM. They wrote out meh, right, which is already obnoxious, and then NVM. And
Sure.
I said, cool. And that person has requested up on my live probably about 7 or 8 times since that time. And I'm like, no, you're not coming up. You got to address don't think you could talk to me any kind of fucking way and I'm going to be okay with it. It just doesn't work
Right.
like that.
Right.
So we have another guest. Hold on, let me see. The name is TJW.
Hey, so this is TJ Williams, the New York City guy.
Hi, TJ. How you doing?
I am processing. We are, so as you know, I live in Chicago, so we've been emailing our state reps. We've been talking with Mayor Brandon's office, Father Michael Flager, trying to get a sense of how we need to protect marginalized people if and when he sends the National Guard here.
Yeah, I think when is more appropriate.
Well, I think what was it last night? He had mentioned that Chicago's next. My
Yeah,
my brother lives in Chicago, so any mention of Chicago, I'm like on the phone with him immediately.
Yeah, and it is simply because I live on the northwest side of Chicago in a community called Old Irving Park, and so there is. Uh, I mean, I walk the streets all the time, so
Yeah.
we attend church on the south side of Chicago. Um, so in Trinity United Church of Christ, President Obama's former congregation. Um, I mean, while it has its problems, the crime rate is not as high as St. Louis. Um, the crime rate is not as high as Mike Johnson's district.
gotcha. Well, TJ, since I don't think you were here from the beginning, were you?
No.
Okay. So since you have just joined us and we have like 3 times more people than we had when I opened up, I'm going to read some
Yes.
facts again. It's pretty quick. So,
Yes, please.
good night, Sam. Thanks for coming by, man. Um, this is the point of the sign over my head. 2% of Americans. So this is Slavery Facts by Nicole Hannah-Jones, and for the people who don't know, she is the founder of the 1619 Project. So she has been studying this topic of slavery for over 30 years now. And the claim was that 2% of Americans own slaves. And it's like, so what percentage of Americans own huge companies? Do these companies influence entire countries? Yes, they do. Thank you for knocking out that goal. Before 1865, 63% of American presidents owned slaves. More than 1,800 members of Congress owned slaves. That's more than half the members of Congress. 26 of America's first 30 Supreme Court justices owned slaves. All but one of the people depicted on American money owned slaves. All but one. The majority of people who founded America and made America's laws built their wealth on slave labor. Slavery
Yeah.
supported most of the American economy. Slaves produced 7/8 of the world's cotton supply. Slave-grown cotton made up 50% of all American exports. I repeat, slave-grown cotton made up 50% of American exports, and that was the number one export in America. At one point, New York considered seceding from the Union because slavery was a huge part of the financial markets. Side note from me, the stock exchange was named after the human stock of slaves because it was a slave market before it was a financial market. New York received 40% of all American cotton revenues through banks and insurance companies despite not owning slaves. 60% of all slave ships sailed out of Rhode Island. All this to say that Jillian Michaels needs to shut the fuck up and leave statistical analysis to intelligent adults.
Can you say that louder?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing you saw that clip of her trying to make that ridiculous claim.
They keep. These are the most uneducated um, group of people. I thought Trump. I'm sorry. I thought Bush people were bad, but not anymore. You know, I think we all kind of wish for George Bush now. Um,
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, Bush was bad enough.
so there was a wonderful meme of um, he was being hugged by Michelle Obama, and he's like, "Am I still the worst president?" And she said, "Not anymore, baby, not anymore."
Yeah,
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 I
but
would disagree.
and not even the dumbest anymore. Like I honestly, and it's sort of funny at the same time. It's tragic. I didn't think it was possible to get dumber than Bush, and yet here we are.
we are in trouble. Um, I saw Father Michael Fager's email today to me, who said that he had done 2 interviews, and that more work to do next week. I'm still waiting for to hear back from the mayor's office, second time, to talk about strategies of resistance in the city of Chicago. Um, we know that they will target black faces, brown bodies. Um, we know that this is not about crime, that this is about resurrecting um, a new modern day Jim Crow.
Hundred
That
percent.
that that is Stephen Miller's dream.
Yeah, yeah. Miller is, by everything I understand in psychology, a sociopath.
Yes, he is.
He doesn't seem to connect to humanity in any way. All of the things that he says are built around cruelty and enjoying people's suffering and all that other nonsense. And he speaks of it gleefully. Like at the end of everything he's saying, there are not human beings suffering from what he's talking about.
Are you still in New York, by the way?
I'm in the Northeast.
Northeast. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to inbox you. So I'm in conversation about starting a resistance community adjacent to the United Nations.
Cool. Excellent. Riot asks or points out, I don't know if you have gotten the news of deployment in 19 states. This is per Fox. It's probably true. Yeah. And Traffic Man just said it, that the National Guard is basically going to become slave patrol, because that's the original version of police. Police
Yes, it
started out
is.
as slave patrol. And the police were always there to protect the wealthy. That was their goal, and that's what it still is. They're just there to protect the wealthy. By the way, speaking of goals, I have a new live goal of something or other. Uh, whatever that is, I forget. But this particular one is 5 coins. So, just be
Finger
aware of
hearts.
that. What are they called?
I think it's finger hearts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Like
that sounds right.
maps or some shit. Yeah.
So what do we do? I mean, what is the um what is the bone? And we are doing something. You are doing something, because, as you know, I've said to you before that TikTok is a new modern day um, street preacher um, vehicle to advocate for justice. So you are doing. But what is it that you all um, hope to see?
Well, here's what I think is the only real option. And I always start by saying that I do not wish to minimize or denigrate anybody else's efforts. Everything that people do, every meme, every post, every live that people are speaking out a bit about it all counts. And I'm not trying to say that to be self-serving. I truly believe that. Just like one drop of water might be meaningless, but enough of them together is a tsunami, right? And what I think is the only thing that's going to cut through everything is a bigger version of the Montgomery bus boycott. That was an extremely successful, peaceful example of resistance. And the thing is that people don't always remember that went on for over a year. So the bus boycott, as organized by MLK and his organization,
Yes.
it pre-internet, it gathered everybody onto the same page, rowing in the same direction, and they maintained daily resistance every single day for over a year. And without that, I don't think that we have a chance, because we have to make the government feel it, but more importantly, we have to make big businesses feel it. We have to make banks feel it. Anyone that can, move your money out of the big commercial banks as quickly as possible and put them in credit unions, because the money in the commercial banks is what fuels the oligarchy. So you want to start to starve the beast every way possible. Look at the impact that it had on Target. And that was just a short initiative, right? So we have to keep the pressure going. But maybe Danny and Traffic Man have other perspectives on that. Either one of you can start or not.
Sorry, I was gonna let Danny go if he
All
had
right.
something.
So go ahead. Go ahead, Traffic Man.
um, oh God, what I want to say is not really TikTok friendly, but I guess no. I mean, really, I mean, the
There's
point
always a
we're
way
at right
around it.
now.
So Don't, yeah.
Right. Well, the point where we're at right now, I think that um, we, we we need to just take action, and I mean, in many different levels. I civilly, governmentally, whether it's local, state, city, whatever. And I mean, the time is now for this administration to just understand that whatever they're serving us, this is not what America wants. This is not what the American people want. I mean, this is just frustrating beyond belief.
I mean,
That
79% of DC residents don't want this. You know how infrequently
yeah,
79% of Americans agree on anything?
correct. Yeah, yeah. How do you get 79% of people to agree on what they want on their hamburger? You know what I mean? No, for real. And at this point, I'm at the point where I see this stuff live streamed to my phone
Mm.
daily, and it's not just one incident here, one incident there. I mean, it's hundreds of incidents that I see on my phone every single day,
It's
and I
overwhelming.
really think it's time that there's a reaction to that.
You know,
Sorry, go ahead, TJ.
I have dreamt about, not just the resurgence of the kind of black pulpit that white politicians are terrified of, but a kind of modern day fix it organization that corrects when someone puts the republic into danger. Like, where is that agency that wears the white hat?
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Danny, to speak your piece on that.
like I said last night, and I said very clearly and loudly, we finally have a leader in the Democratic Party.
Get a little
He
closer to your mic,
emerged.
Danny, please.
I think it's my headphone. Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Uh, about the same.
Hang on a minute. How about now? Can you hear me now?
About the same. But go ahead. No, I don't hear anything. Oh, you muted yourself, I think, Danny.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little bit. Go ahead.
I can't hear you, so I don't
Oh,
I don't know what's going on.
okay. You're good. Go
So
ahead.
I'm going to drop and come back out.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, okay, there you go. So yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this for weeks now. I've been talking about this since 2015. I mean, not Rush Limbaugh. What's his face? Jones,
Glenn Beck.
Alex
Oh,
Jones.
sorry.
This guy has been talking about this since the 90s, but now he's aligned himself with the administration because he's got nowhere to go.
Right.
Since he's been sued into oblivion, he has decided to join the evil empire and shill for this administration, and it's a damn shame. But to his credit, and I said this years ago because people were giving him a lot of shit, and some of the shit he absolutely deserved. But
Hmm.
if you really listen to him, he was right about a lot of shit. You know, he talked about the list. He talked about all these things, and people were laughing at him because they thought it was absurd. All right. If you go back to the early 2000s, you can hear him talking about this stuff. So, but, no matter how much people warn about it, the attitude was always, oh, it can never happen here. So let's try again, Danny.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. You
No,
sound much better now.
that's much better, actually.
You know how the
So much
Bluetooth
better.
headphones work, they suck.
Yeah.
So, anyway, like I was saying last night, finally, after 7 months, almost 8, of Donnie Dump in office, we finally have a Democrat that's standing up and leading us during this time. Like him or hate him,
Hmm.
Newsom is our leader at this point in time. He is standing 10 toes down. He is challenging Trump on many fronts. And we need to start backing this guy 1,000%. Whether he runs for president or not, I don't care if he runs or not, one way or the other. But I do know that he is the only one that's speaking out with authority, with distinction, and he's speaking the truth. And so that's one of the big things right there. Before we were sitting there after the 2024 election, the Democrats went to the corner and cried in a bucket of tears. And there was nobody until Gavin Newsom finally said, enough is enough. Texas, if you do what you're doing, California's going to do it better, you know? And there's other blue states that's going to start following his lead because if we don't stick together, we are going to lose our democracy
We are.
one way or the form or the other.
Yeah.
So like I said, whether you like Newsom or not, I don't give a fuck. All I know is that he's a man that's speaking the truth. He's standing his ground. He's loud. He's proud, and I'm behind him 1,000%.
And not even a hair out of place.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
this is a very attractive man. When I saw him debate DeCrampus, it looked like a hunter clubbing a baby seal. I mean, it was brutal.
Yep.
Of course, DeCrampus is an idiot, so it wasn't that hard. But Newsom is one of those people. He debates very similarly to Jon Stewart and very similarly to Mehdi Hassan. If you are 99% right but 1% wrong, they will always catch the 1% where you're giving misinformation or trying to redirect the facts, which is what Jillian Michaels tried to do by focusing on 2% of Americans. But thankfully we have people like Nicole who were around to say, hey, here are the real fucking facts about what went on during slave times. And it's thank goodness for that. Because I've been hearing this rhetoric for so long, and it's like it's time that we galvanize. I'm not going to say unify because I don't think that's a thing, but we have got to form some kind of coalition, and we've got to stop the fucking purity test that we're always putting candidates through. We've got to be
Yep.
like the rock and roll stars of the 70s, where they would try to tune their guitars, but it wasn't quite there, and they would say close enough for rock and roll. So if a candidate is close enough to be within striking distance of winning, that's what we have to focus on, not whether they're perfect or not.
Well, and that's the thing is like at this point, name me another Democrat in the last 6 months that is really audibly taken a stance against this current administration. I mean, who? Chuck Schumer? No. Nancy Pelosi? Where's she at? Buying stocks. Where's
Let's
AOC?
leave all the dinosaurs off
Right.
the list. They're not relevant.
Okay. Well, like AOC, where's she
Boom.
been?
Right.
I mean, no, seriously. Like
But
I thought she was going to be this.
AOC has been scrapping. See, I follow
She's been
her,
out.
and
Yep.
she is very outspoken, and she's excellent at debate. Jasmine Crockett's the same thing.
Jasmine
Jared
Crockett, right,
Kushner's the
right.
same
Absolutely.
thing. Jamie Raskin is the same thing.
Mhm.
There are a bunch of them out there, and it's
What?
mostly the younger politicians that understand
Right.
how to use social media to their advantage. Because, I find it ironic that Barack Obama was the first candidate ever in American history to utilize social media, and he was a master at it. All right, because he's a masterful communicator, but whatever his team was doing for strategy worked beautifully because the fucking
Right.
guy won 2 elections. Okay, so he did
Yeah,
it right.
exactly.
All right. And the part that I find amazing is that Democrats didn't just use that as a template moving forward. Why are you reinventing the wheel when you have winners that you can look at? You can look at Clinton, you can look at Obama and understand how to get the fucking thing done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is that I served 22 years in the Army,
Mm,
and I was in Vietnam all the way through the Cold War. And let me tell you something, I didn't fight for this country for you guys' freedom to sit there and sit on your asses and not fight for this democracy. Because I guarantee you, if I let you young people do that and not say something to you, I'm not doing my job. So I will
Right.
Right on.
guarantee you, I will kick your guys' ass 10 days to Sunday if you
Well,
don't sit there and support whoever the person is and quit this goddamn whining ass bullshit. We
but see,
need to support Newsom right now to get things moving. He may not be the candidate. He may end up in the primaries, not even the person. But we need to support the man right now because he's the only one that's leading the Democratic
Exactly.
Party.
Exactly. And
yeah,
and he's a guy that can
exactly.
run circles around anyone on the Republican side. He is a laser beam when he's debating, man. He's amazing.
Well, and that's I still stand by my statement the other night. I mean, he is a means to an end,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
the end is getting rid of this administration we have
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
every
I
single one
mean,
of them.
we hope that the midterms actually take place. We know they're
Right.
trying to rig it. We know there's a good chance if Dump becomes desperate enough, he's gonna call it off. You know, so
Yep.
we have to be completely driven and completely focused on the midterms next year and then the election 2 years after that. And the next person that tells me it's too early to start talking about this stuff, I'm going to tell him to fuck right off. I'm so tired of hearing that
Block them.
shit.
I
The
agree.
time was 50
Exactly.
fucking years ago to start talking about this stuff because that's what the Republicans did. That's why,
Yeah.
with no form of governance, with such a shitty record on the economy, with such a shitty record virtually on everything, they still win elections. Is because the Democrats have not decided to get down and dirty. And again, I want them to stay the good guys. I want them to stay the heroes. So I'm not advocating for breaking the law. I'm not advocating for lying. I'm saying whatever you got to do to be better than them, do it
So
and
so
worry about it later on.
so here's a question I have. So we all know of the Heritage Foundation, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so what is it? Every Supreme Court justice pick has been basically picked by the Heritage Foundation since I think
Yes.
'87 with Robert York or Robert Bork. Is that
Right.
accurate?
You are
Okay,
right.
okay, okay. Where is the Democratic think tank?
Good
Is there
question.
one? I don't know. I've never looked that up. You know,
Well, there's
that's
a bar downtown in D.C. That might be the thing.
yeah, yeah, there you go, the think tank. But no, but seriously, like where is the Democratic Party's and listen, again, I want to, as Yoda said, we want to still remain the good guys. But where is the organization to sit down and say, okay, you know, the next opportunity we get to put a Supreme Court justice in place, we're going to hand the president a list of names,
Mhm.
you know, and that may happen. I don't know because all I ever hear about is on the Republican side where you know that's what I forget the guy's name who's in charge of the Heritage Foundation, but he'll come into the Oval Office and say, Mr. President, these are our top three
He
picks.
has a list for the next 50 years.
Exactly.
I'm
Right. Right.
telling you
Right.
that.
Yeah. And you know, they, you know, if I had to pick the next justice to retire, I'm probably going to pick Clarence Thomas, right? Because he's one of the oldest. Am I not? Am I not
He's
right?
all, I believe he is the oldest.
And
Um,
Okay.
It's time
Oh,
for him
it's
to.
time for
And
Clarence Uncle Thomas to
well,
go.
For him to go. And
well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
Uncle
was time for
Thomas needs to
it was
go.
time
Yeah,
for Clarence Thomas to go
yeah,
probably 30 years
and
ago.
yeah.
But
and
It
and
was time. It
but
was
my,
time for him never to be a Supreme Court
On the
justice
oh,
30
court
that's
years ago.
true.
circuit.
Okay,
By the
yeah, there
way,
you go.
I just want to note quickly, I did a search. Do the Democrats have the equivalent of the Heritage Foundation? And the answer came back, the Center for American Progress. I have heard of
yeah,
them, but they're obviously not
Okay,
prominent enough to be household names.
yeah,
exactly.
I get emails from them. And you ask like where are the good guys, that we have to remain the good guys. Let us not forget that throughout African American history that we've had good guys like Nat Turner, like Callus Case, like the other acts of resistance, to get folks to freedom.
Right.
We've had slaves or captives rather,
Right.
folks who were kidnapped um, who acted. We had those in the fields and those in the houses that were making sure that master didn't wake up.
Right.
Yep. By the way,
And
speaking of Nat Turner, I know the man. We've actually been friends for like almost 20 years now, who returned the skull of Nat Turner to his family.
Mm,
that's beautiful.
wow.
Yeah, I
Well,
got to see it
let's look
before
at
he
this
did
way.
it. It was top secret, but he came over to a mutual friend's home and he like opened up a box and showed it to us. It was fucking wild.
Wow.
What history and
We need
sacred.
to, if you listen to these mamby-pamby senators and Congress people, when they talk to each other, well, the general lady from so and so and the
Yeah.
English gentleman so fuck that shit.
Hey, I was just gonna say,
You
Danny,
know,
fuck that shit. Yeah.
it's time to sit there and call them out what they are instead of saying, well, he's not telling the truth. He needs to start saying you're just flat out lying.
Right. Well,
You
the
know,
the only reason that they don't you don't call someone a liar is because you need a lot of proof to prove someone's lying, and they don't want to get in legal trouble for that. That's why whenever you see the news talking about someone on trial, they always say alleged first.
but I was
Well,
under the
see,
understanding that congressmen and senators are not liable on
I
when they're speaking on the floor of the House,
Right.
so they can't sue them.
Right.
I
And
was
by
just
the
gonna
way,
say,
we're at
yeah.
20,000 likes, still a little bit behind the pace that we need. So, keep tapping away. I have a feeling that you guys could get me to at least 75 by the end of this. So that would be
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
I'm still not posting Danny's numbers, but, a boy can hope.
Amen.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, I I get what you're saying about the decorum and stuff, and I agree with you in general. And when I talk about being the good guys, right? That doesn't mean don't fight aggressively. All right?
Right.
Cuz again, MLK fought aggressively. He turned the tide of history. This was a man of color standing over the shoulder of a president as that president signed his bill into law. That's fucking amazing. Whatever
Yep.
the lasting
Right.
effects, I can't even think about that. I just look at that moment and realize that that is an amazing accomplishment for just a citizen of America. So I am confident that we can remain the good guys and still roll up our sleeves and duke it out. You know, like
Right.
let's exhibit the same level of fight and aggression that the other side has, and the only difference between us is that the Democrats are going to be telling the truth while the Republicans continue to lie. So we don't. I want people to stop uh, bringing up the fact that Republicans lie. We all fucking know that. So
Mhm.
your job, if you want a public office, if you want to win elections, your job is to tell the truth better. Period.
Well, if I may, what happened to Al Green? Earlier this year at the State of the Union
Yeah,
address,
it was
Al Green
insane.
stood up and, yeah,
What's
he
RF
kept,
talking about?
well, yeah, he kept repeating, you have no, not statute. What's the word?
Standing.
Any, no. Anyways, regardless, um, like, where did that energy go? I saw Al Green doing this, and I was like, "Holy crap, dude! This, And again, dinosaur, because he is very old. But I was like, "Oh my goodness, maybe he's gonna take, maybe the younger representatives under his wing and like start this." And then no, after that, it just kind of fizzled out, and it was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
got it.
whatever."
Dangerfield, please don't keep typing in all caps. That's only for hosts and mods.
You got a propaganda pair RF in the goddamn chat.
Oh, yeah? RF, let's see. What's RF
Oh, yeah.
saying?
Oh
Republicans
yeah,
pay taxes so
Republicans
the
pay
Democrats
taxes.
can complain. That's hilarious. Dude, this is the wrong hill to try to make a stand. You are so completely wrong about this. It is clearly a well-established fact that Democratic states and cities support the red states, right?
Right.
Immigrants support the red states.
Yep.
This is one of the dumbest thing any one of you propaganda parrots ever came up and said. That's
Right.
hilarious.
well, what is it? California is the fifth largest economy in the
Fourth,
world.
Yep.
fourth.
Fourth. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, exactly. Like, what the?
When you go, because we want to get to a fundamental level, because the Republicans are always trying to they're always trying to get into the weeds about shit. So if you
Right.
count up all the counties in America, it is overwhelming, like a 3-to-1 ratio. I looked at it just a couple of months ago. A 3-to-1 ratio. Which counties are benefiting from all the social programs? We're talking about
Sure.
EBT, Medicare, Medicaid, Section 8, and
SNAP.
Social Security.
Yeah.
All of those are things that immigrants pay into, and the people in red states benefit from and have the nerve to vilify immigrants, you pieces of fucking shit.
Yep.
It is.
Listen, where I live, I can't tell you how many YT people are on some program, whatever it is, and it's like,
Mm.
what? Why are you complaining? This is exactly what's feeding your family. Yeah,
Right.
I don't get it.
Because that's the thing. The only way to keep the Republican Party in power is to constantly pick a villain du jour, and that villain is almost always going to have brown skin.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the history of America. You kidnap people, you brutalize them, you make them build your country, and then forevermore you hate them because you have to hate them. In order to be that brutal to another human being, you have to dehumanize that person. And so that's what you did. Congratulations. You won. You're the dominant culture. But look at what the fuck is happening to you now.
Mhm.
Right.
Oh, it's true. It's very true. I mean, I as I said before, when I wrote my doctoral entry thesis, I talked about the self unaliving. See, I've been around TikTok. I talked about the self unaliving of Mega, that they will burn it all down, even at the risk of hurting themselves and their
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
to touch what they perceived as uh, what they perceived as the lives of Black and Brown people, without even understanding that 40% of us have advanced degrees.
Yeah. There's a long list of what they don't understand, but Dangerfield makes a great point. Just wait till the big bill comes out. That's why it doesn't begin till after the midterms. Yeah, they've hidden all of the worst things. The first wave of horrible shit comes out after the midterms. The second wave of horrible shit comes out after the 2028 election so that they can blame whoever they anticipate as the Democratic president. So evil geniuses, I give them credit for that, but this is an unprecedented, just cash grab, theft, grift, corruption, whatever word you want to use to describe it. It's the worst in America's history, and there have been other corrupt presidents. Let's not try to give the impression that Donnie Dump invented any of this stuff, but he's just the worst example of it. Like, there's a reason why I think it was 154 or 158 historians all said, and these were historians on both sides of the aisle, and they all said that he is the worst president in American history.
Yes. And, he's apparently going to send a team of lawyers around to all the museums to eradicate that now.
Yes.
Yeah, doing the important work of America.
Yeah, exactly.
The bidding by those who are behind him, like Stephen Miller and like Caroline Lyon.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet.
Lion Caroline.
Yep.
I want you young people to be aware that Stephen Miller is not going away. Even
No.
if he gets out of office, I'll guarantee you he is going to run for political office. He's not going to sit on the sidelines when Dump is over with. And I guarantee you, if something were to happen to Dump now and Vance gets elected, appointed president in concession, don't be surprised that Stephen Miller is his vice president.
Yeah, nothing changes. To my way of thinking, and Danny made an excellent point. Dump is the poster child. He's the patsy, right? You know, just like with JFK, they had us focus on one guy as the patsy. He even described himself as that. As he was being arrested, he was yelling, "I'm a patsy," right? The difference between him and Dump is too stupid to understand that he's the patsy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Peter Thiel and all those other guys, the Musks of the world, all that crime family, when they are done with Dump, they are going to throw him under the bus faster than you can imagine. And that day is coming soon. He's still useful to them as a figurehead, as a lightning rod for all this, but I predict, and look, I've had plenty of predictions where I've been wrong, but I predict that Donnie Dump is going to be thrown under the bus by all the people that have been propping him up for years, because that they're letting him break the law. They're letting him do all this stuff, so he's the lightning rod, and some of them are going to catch some shrapnel, but those are the minions, right? But the guys that are pulling the strings up top, if Dump fell off the face of the earth tomorrow, it wouldn't change anything that we're experiencing right now.
Right.
Not at all. It blew my mind today with the news I heard that the FBI raided John Bolton's house.
How disgusting is that?
Well, I remember back in like 2013, 2014, there was the video that came out about John Bolton talking about Iran and stuff like that, and people were like, "Oh, he's the worst thing, that you could ever imagine." Da 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 da. And then he was in the Trump administration the first time, and now here we are, and this man's being raided by the Trump's judicial, and it's like, wait, like he doesn't care.
Make no mistake about it.
I mean,
Bolton is a piece of garbage. Okay,
I completely agree.
But
right.
There's only one reason Dump had the FBI raid him, is Bolton was mean to Dump. That's all this is about. Because the farce, the absolute irony of all of this is that Dump is accusing him of having secure documents, like having classified documents. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the
irony,
story you're going with?
Yes.
Holy shit, mister, I have boxes in the bathroom
In
at
the bathroom.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
on tape. He's on tape, literally sharing government secrets with people. Because what have I been telling you? He's like a 5-year-old. He can't keep a secret. When he knows
Yes.
something, he gets so excited and he has to say it. He has to say it
Exactly.
out loud because he's a buffoon,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
this guy that was literally accused, and it wasn't lawfare because it wasn't the Democrats that went after Dump. Almost everybody involved with prosecuting Dump was a Republican. Little
Yep.
trivia for you, okay?
Wow.
And now, where are all of the MAGA hats screaming lawfare? Well, that's all this guy is doing.
Yep.
Wow. You know, I was like, when does it all end? So,
I mean, not soon enough, but
Right.
it's unsustainable. What is happening in America is unsustainable. We know this from history, right? Every country that went down this path had a horrible ending. Okay, even
Mm.
if the country is still around, these are dictatorships where people are miserable. They don't have freedom. They're starving. They don't have opportunity. They don't have any kind of real life. And that's what they're trying to recreate here. What they want, and I know this sounds goofy, but I really believe it. They want to be the matrix and they want us to be the batteries. That's what they want.
Yeah.
They don't care about us. Just like in the Matrix, when one of them fails, they just flush it and put another one in. Just like if you have a flashlight and the batteries go kaput, you just get more batteries and you throw the old ones out. You don't think twice about those old batteries. That's what they're looking at us. They just see us as profit centers, right? They know that over a
Right.
lifetime, each of us is worth X amount. That's why they're fucking with our Social Security. I mean,
yeah.
there is no reason for Social Security to be insolvent or even in danger, but because the Republicans keep borrowing against it, right,
Mm.
and not paying it back, they're basically saying, "Yeah, fuck your future. We needed to give wealthy people tax breaks. We needed to fund illegal wars because that's what funded Iraq and Iran. It was the Social
Yeah.
Security fund. That's what funded the 2009 bailout. That's what's funding this shit now."
Well, and I'll tell you, on a lot of the right-leaning podcasts and influencers and stuff like that, there's this new narrative where a lot of the younger crowd are claiming, well, why don't you have a 401k? Why don't you open up a 401k? Why don't you do this with a 401k? Because it's much more secure than Social Security. And I feel that they're trying to push this narrative to try to convince the new generation of Americans that, you know what, Social Security, there's no point to that because how much money you're ever going to get? You're going to get a couple $100 a month. It is what it is. But with a 401k, if you invest your money in the stock market, you're gonna end up rich. And there is no rich. All you're going to do is bolster the people that actually have the money.
Yep, absolutely. Listen to this propaganda parrot, this mental
Oh no.
midget, Mike Menser, saying, he types out, all right, you already know he's dumb. Because is a verbal placeholder that people say. You don't type it out. All you're
Um,
doing by typing out is self-identifying as a fucking douchebag. Okay, that was the Dems taking money away from us from SS. Yeah, sure it was. Sure it was. Maybe read something, you dumbass.
They
He
don't.
wasn't even born when the Social Security was first tapped. So don't talk that crap to me, boy.
It's a more of a practical question. Are you guys preparing? I mean, I started prepping the week after the election. Um,
um,
yeah.
In what regard, if you don't mind my asking?
Food, gas masks.
Now he's blaming his teachers. Okay.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Um. So my preparation has
Wait a
been.
second. An adult man
Go ahead.
is saying, I was taught that since high
Yes.
school?
Yeah, exactly.
This
It
is
was.
this is how an adult man talks?
I bet you he still wears his Letterman jacket.
And
I doubt it fits him.
I bet you he
Yeah,
didn't
He
graduate
exactly.
from
doesn't.
high school.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's see. He
Well,
doesn't even have
GEDs,
a.
you know,
He doesn't
whatever.
even have a real photo. He's just a typical propaganda parrot.
All right,
And look,
is
he writes
TikTok
the
funny?
was like step back. Oh my God, you're just ridiculous. I gotta get rid of this guy. Just annoying as all fuck.
Yep.
The last thing he wrote was that SS was not to be a retirement. The fuck does that mean? You know what Social Security was meant to be? And this is not for
What?
Mike because he can't hear me anymore, but in case you have the misfortune
A
of
safety net.
encountering more MAGA hats on this platform, Social Security lifted so many of the elderly out of poverty. It used to
Yes.
be that once you couldn't work anymore, chances are you were going to live in squalor for the rest of your life and be very, very unhappy and have no quality of life, none of that stuff, right? And so here came a president, an imperfect president, who, after World War II, had a country to rebuild, and he created the New Deal and lifted millions of elderly out of poverty. And you're going to sit here and say it wasn't meant to be a retirement? What kind of dumb shit is that? These fucking people
Yep.
never read anything. It's amazing.
They really don't.
Yeah. I mean, you know, my grandparents were born, 1921 through 23 ish, and they would always tell me about the poorhouse. You know what I mean? And that's what Social Security got a lot of people away from, was the poorhouse. Because if you defaulted on things, I mean, at that point, I don't think we had what do they call that? Debtors
Debtor's
jail
prison. Oh,
or
by the
whatever.
way,
Debtor's
that's
Debtor,
going to
prison.
make a
right?
comeback. We can almost guarantee
Oh, it
that.
absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But um, uh, but yeah, I mean, they would always warn me, like make sure that you pay your house on time, stuff like that, because you don't want to end up in the poorhouse. And somebody who was born in the 80s, I never knew what the poorhouse meant. I thought it was just some like figure of speech or whatever. But this was a real place. This was a real thing in our society at one point, you know. And I have a young man that works with me now, and he doesn't he's very confused when I told him, like, credit scores, for instance. Credit scores didn't come around until 1989. And he was born in 94, and he looks at me and he's like, that's a joke, right? And I was like, no. And he's like, no, credit scores have always been a thing. And I go, no, they have not.
No.
Absolutely, they have not.
No, the banker's job used to be to evaluate people, especially since I worked with bankers for 20 years, so I know this.
Hmm.
They used to go to a business, they used to look at the books, they used to look at the inventory, they used to look at the foot traffic and all the stuff that you use to evaluate the potential health of a business or the health of a business. And then they would decide whether you were a good risk or not. Credit scores made it
Correct.
so that, I remember I used to do seminars in Brooklyn, and I'd have these dumbasses come up and talk about, oh, if you're opening a business, you have to make a relationship with the banker. No, you don't. The banker's own brother can't get a loan if his credit score is not high enough. So this old school
Yes.
thinking of making a relationship with your banker is completely useless now. It's all about the numbers, and all of it, literally all of it. Every system that you see that makes our jobs harder is all, or not our jobs, but our lives harder. They're all meant to funnel the money to the wealthy. That's what this whole
Yeah.
fucking system is about. And it's like, we have an example post World War II, up until Reagan got in office, of a country that was thriving economically, that was progressing socially. Not fast enough for my liking, but it was still making progress. And all of that is gone now. You know, between
Yep.
minority, women, the poor, the sick, all of these things were improving. You know, in the last 30 years, I believe 1 billion people were brought out of poverty. That's amazing. That's amazing. And those, by the way, almost all of these things, Democratic initiatives.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, have y'all found that TikTok is coming after you all? Because on my other account, I'm limited
Yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
lives. Yeah.
yeah.
Same.
Since I'm live right now, I'm not going to talk about it too much. But yeah, it's been obvious to me the way my account was progressing, especially after I did a big video last November. You know, not viral by TikTok standards, but viral by my standards, because, you know, most of my videos were getting 200, 300 views, something like that. This got 276,000 views. And, you know, I got 4,000 followers from that one video, and it kept progressing every month in terms of like more people following me and more people engaging in my content. It wasn't unusual for a post of mine to do 5, 10, 50,000, you know. And then suddenly in May, it fell off a cliff. And I know what they're doing. They're limiting the exposure to the FYP, the For You page. And, you know, what they used to do, what they were trying to do for a couple months was violate every one of my posts and make me appeal it. And some of them, you know, I would say most of them actually, I won the appeals, but that was their way of slowing it down. But then they figured out that was too much effort on their part. So now they just use the algorithm to hide you from the majority of people on the platform.
Exactly.
They told me on my other account that I had violated community standards by talking about Black history to a
Yeah.
Black consumer. Uh, and and so they literally, so I appealed it, and then they denied the appeal. Um, and then they said again, oh, you have one more time, or
Yeah.
that you're going to be banned again. And
I
so
have
this
one
is my
strike
backup
against my
account.
account right now.
Same.
You know, and look, I don't. We're at a crossroads because next month, this is all going to change. The rules are going to get even dumber than they are now.
Yes.
Like
Right.
you won't be able to criticize the administration at all. You won't be able to mention other platforms. They want to turn this into another Twitter. They just want it to be
Hmm.
a bastion for right wing lunatics, you know. But we'll adapt and make new decisions and figure out what's next.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're gonna have to do. You know, there's no way around it.
Yeah,
Whether
I mean,
it's
I'm not going to
yeah,
shut
yeah.
up. You
I
know,
know
Oh,
that's right.
same.
I'm a
No,
shit
no.
talker by nature, so I'm not going to shut up unless you make me shut up. And there's not too many
Yeah. I
ways to
mean,
do that.
yeah. If this app, you know, changes in any major way, I mean, like, I still have my mouth.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah. Hey,
and
listen.
listen,
Let's
it
remember. Let's all remember that when Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, there were only about 4 million white tea Americans in America at that time, and he sold 500,000 copies of that. This is
right.
pre-internet, pre-everything, right? Pre-electricity, pre-cars, pre-planes, all that
Yep.
shit. So there is a way. There is a way. And remember,
Absolutely.
a lot of Americans at that time were illiterate farmers. So they used to gather in the town square where the one smart guy who could read would read to everybody.
Read them
And
the
that
book.
and that
Yeah.
pamphlet, Common Sense, is what convinced Americans to fight the British, right?
Yeah.
So it's doable. You know, if it's that old saying: when one door closes, another one opens up, and if it doesn't, kick the wall down. Whatever the fuck it takes to do what we need to do, we're gonna have to figure it out. I already have a channel on the cord, which is this. I've had a channel for 5 years on the tube, which is you. I'm ready. I'm ready. So bring it the fuck on. Whatever it is, it is.
Right. Right.
For technical purposes, I'm following Yoda wherever he goes. So, as
Yeah. Same.
I'm not on anything other than this, so I'll expect my younger brother to steer me in the right direction.
I got you covered, Danny. And, I've said it many times. Whatever Danny decides to do, I'm there with him. If Danny, and this is not even a joke, I mean this 100% literally. If Danny told me tomorrow I'm going to start having lives where I read the newspaper, guess who the fuck is going to be at every one of those lives? Because that's how
Yep.
much I care and respect this man. So, you know,
Right.
what? Yeah, I'm rolling with you till the fucking wheels fall off, my friend.
Me too.
Trump got all the
And by the
attention.
way, I have a Discord now. It's called In the Day Room. So look for it. It's I just invited a few. I can't seem to invite you, Traffic Man, but I don't know why, but that's the way it goes. But
Yeah, I
Wh-
just
What's that to?
set up my cord, which is dis, and I wanted to check it to make it private and all this other shit. So pretty soon I'll start inviting people, and like I said,
Yeah.
we're gonna make whatever transition we need to. And Kathleen said, "Yoda, you give me hope." Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad. That's a wonderful compliment, and I appreciate that. And Vicky said, "I will follow my big bro." So she's talking about Danny. Dangerville said, "I've sent your site to all my followers, whoever you're referring to. Thank you for that." And that's how it's going to be, folks. We're gonna utilize these platforms, and we're gonna do whatever we can do, And to fully answer your question about preparation, I was telling Danny, like, I'm not a fan of 2A, but I'll use that motherfucker if I need to, you know.
Okay.
And so, go down to the sporting goods store, get some boom boom sticks, and fucking strap up.
Well, listen, I will tell you. I'm 100% Democrat. Like, I'm definitely on that side. But I also grew up in rural Northeast Ohio,
Oh,
so
I did
you
too. I grew
can
up in
you
Youngstown.
can connect the dots from there.
Yeah,
you
all
have
and
my
look,
sympathy.
I don't pretend to be a badass, but I know that
Right.
I've been training in the arts since 1977, and all I can promise is this: I know if enough of them rush me, they're going to get me, but a few of them are going to carry those scars for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Go, going back to kind of what I think that we should what I think should be the reactionary response right now is, the protesting and stuff. All that's great. I feel that if there was more, I hate to say this, if there was more physical interaction,
Mm.
I'm not sure what direction that would go, but I think that may lead to empowering more people to stand up, more people to kind of get out there, more people to see that there are people that are frustrated enough that they are making that step across that line, and that they would see that and go, holy crap, if these people are doing this, how bad is this? And maybe it'll start getting more Americans engaged into understanding where this administration is taking us,
Yeah,
what the direction this administration wants. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's why I said this is not sustainable. I mean, look what happened in Russia in
Right.
1917.
Right.
There was the February uprising, or the February Revolution. They call it a few things, and then in
Yep.
November they had another uprising that we commonly refer to as the Bolshevik Revolution, and those two uprisings succeeded. All right, the first one
Yeah.
was a bloody mess. The second one was peaceful, but they took down a king. They toppled
Mm,
a royal family in Russia, and these were
Yep.
just regular people. So it's doable. It's doable. And history has so many examples of that, But again, I want to lead with peace because peaceful protests actually succeed far more often than their counterparts. So I want to lead with
Right.
peace, but like the old saying goes, soldiers know this saying, samurais know this saying, warriors pray for peace, but prepare for WAR.
right.
Exactly.
And there's
Exactly.
and I'm gonna check with some media sources and then probably try to come back up. But I definitely wanted to holler at you, and because I do want to start a community of resistance there
Absolutely,
in New York
man.
City.
Consider me part of it.
So, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna inbox you. So,
I'm there.
yay!
I'm there.
Yeah,
Look,
that
I
I
already
followed you
volunteer
there
for
too,
the
Jim.
largest pro democracy organization in America. I do content for them. They're called Represent Us. You can find them at represent.us. I have a playlist on my profile that's Represent Us. So, I've done like 7 or 8 videos for them so far, and I continue to because I believe in what they're doing. They do letter writing campaigns, phone banks, text banks. They organize events. They work with a lot of different coalitions, and that's what we need. We need people heading up the cause and being willing to do more than talk about it. Even though talking about it is important, at a certain point, the rubber has to meet the road.
Yep.
So, real quick, I don't remember who it was that brought up about the National Guard mobilizing in 19 states. But I've been kind of searching with this stuff, and according to, and again, this is faux news, so take it with a grain of salt, if you will. However, they're claiming that documents obtained by Fox News is showing the plans for activations in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Louisiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wyoming.
All red states.
So, yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that because so my local law enforcement, um, I
Mm,
remember about 15 years ago, we ended up getting a Humvee. It was a trainer Humvee from one of the local Air Force bases, kind of a thing. There was this government program where local law enforcement could pay $1 and they would get the Humvee, and basically we don't own it. We're just renting it for forever, if you will, from the U.S. government. And it was used as kind of like an outreach vehicle. We already have a Freightliner SWAT truck, like that. We have our SWAT team, all that stuff. So this was kind of used as kind of like, oh, the kids can see the Humvee, and everybody, oh, look at the Humvee. Well, then about 5 or 6 years after that, we ended up getting an MRAP. I'm going to tell you, to this day, I'm very aware that we have this vehicle. A matter of fact, I was the one that drained and refilled the transfer cases on this vehicle. Like, I'm very aware we have this vehicle. And anytime I see it, it's not welcoming. The Humvee, you see that little Humvee coming down the road, you're like, hey, look, a Humvee. I don't know. It's not threatening. When you see that MRAP coming down the road, there's just something built into your brain. You look at that and you're like, what the hell's going on?
right.
I can tell you,
It's
I can make a Humvee look real threatening by mounting a 50 cal at the top.
well, yeah, right, right. Well,
Trust me,
unfortunately,
I've seen my soldiers do that for me.
sure,
You know,
sure.
so
Well, on this Humvee, that provision has been removed.
sure, I
So,
understand that.
you're right, right, right. However,
We
seeing
didn't
this
have
MRAP,
MRAS when I was in.
right.
So.
but seeing this vehicle just coming down the roadway, it's just immediately threatening. At this
Yeah,
point,
that's the point.
honestly, at this point, they might as well have Bradleys rolling around. Why,
They will. They will.
oh, I don't doubt it. you know, but listen, I don't know
Listen,
how I'm going to react
let's
if
get
here in
very
Ohio
real
if I
here.
see this.
Let's get
Yeah,
very real.
please. I'm ready for it.
Governments do not respond to uprisings well.
No, they
No.
don't.
And that's even in peacetime. That's even when you have a decent administration in office. A corrupt
Yeah,
government, forget about it.
correct.
It's going to get very fucking bad because they are obviously not letting up anytime soon.
No,
They
no,
have
no,
they have
absolutely.
they are one-minded, they are singular in their purpose, and they are going to sally forth no matter what the fuck we say. So when we come up, they are going to try to push us back down, guaranteed. And it ain't going to be
Yep,
pretty.
it's not. And I mean, like I said before, uh, my game plan is that whatever the outcome is, I'm going to try to find a situation where maybe I could you know, get my whole family packed up in the truck and all this bullshit, and we'll drive to the Canadian border, and I will just shove my children and my wife across the border, and then just shut the gate and be like, okay, bye. I'll let
It's
you know when it's
something.
okay to come back
I
because
hate to
I'm
break
not
your
leaving.
bubble.
Yes,
I hate
sir.
to pop your bubble, but if something were to go dramatically wrong down here, Canada is going to close their borders so tight,
No, no,
and
no. You're
Mexico
absolutely
is
right.
going to do the same thing.
Right.
That there ain't going to be no place to go, my friend.
Well, and this is kind of a game plan, if you will, before that happens. Um,
What's the
I think
trigger point for you?
well tomorrow. I'm
The
sorry.
here's
Well,
Really,
I'm
here's the
trying to be
thing.
realistic.
go
Here's the
ahead. Go ahead.
thing.
Go ahead.
Unless you are way ahead of the event and you're proactive and the event has not
Right.
started yet, then you stand a chance. Once
Right.
the shit goes down, it's sort of like if there's coastal flooding, everyone thinks they know the best way to get to safety, but they don't realize that everyone has the same idea. All
Exactly.
right. So
Yeah.
we've seen it. We've seen it before. Whenever something goes wrong around the world, whether it's a tsunami or it's flooding or it's a tornado, whatever the fuck it is, the lights go out, whatever it is, we see that everybody has the same idea about how to handle that issue and it causes gridlock.
Right.
So if you're waiting for some kind of tragic thing to happen before you act, you're going to be behind the eight ball.
So right now, I have looked into three different things. I have looked into Canadian citizenship for me and my family. I have already looked into Greek citizenship. Unfortunately, the Hellenic Citizenship Council's weird, and so the problem with Greece is the only person that would actually be allowed to get immediate dual citizenship would be myself, because both of my father and my mother are from Greek descent. Blah blah blah. My kids would be allowed in. However, my wife, because she has no Greek descent, there's an issue with that, and whatever. I've looked into UK. I've looked into Ireland. I don't know if you remember the Scotsman that used to come up in some of the lives. I've talked to him about maybe some of the situations up there. Just anything where I could, like we could proactively just be like, you know what, f this, let's get out of here.
Yeah. I'm curious, what did you find with Canada? Because that's the place I'm looking at too.
So Canada wants you to needs you to have a sponsor. Starting off,
And a
you need to have a
sponsor means
sponsor
what?
to have a active citizen that can vouch for you as far as work at a job, that kind of stuff. Secondly, they want to see some sort of a valuable, what's the word I'm looking for? Job criteria, kind of a thing. Which the good news for myself, what would be nice is a lot of the traffic industry here in the United States does translate over to Canada. We have a lot of the same rules as far as like traffic signals, signage, stuff like that. So for somebody like myself, I could say, well, look, unfortunately, I don't know anybody in Canada, so I'm kind of screwed there. But I can at least make the claim that, look, I have this valuable commodity, which is my education in the traffic signal industry, and I can be a valuable member of your society, kind of a thing.
Right. I gotcha. So, hi, Dangerfield. It looks like your icon is a man in a suit pushing a boulder up a hill a la Sisyphus. Am I close?
Sisyphus, that's right.
All right, cool. So, how you doing?
Okay, is that me on the top?
It is.
Oh, okay, it doesn't look like me. Anyway, I thought it'd be a little fatter. Anyway, I was just going to tell Traffic Man. Years ago, I went to Greece. I got a Greek passport because my dad was Greek and my mom was Greek. They gave me a Greek passport. I had dual citizenship. Now my wife, who is an American citizen, she has a Greek passport too because she's married to me. And my kids have Greek passports too. So we all have dual citizenship. We could move to Greece. No problem. We could
Okay.
move to my dad's island of Ithaca. It's beautiful.
Listen, as long as you don't tell your shitty jokes, I would have no problem moving in with you.
Hey, no, there was no shitty
No,
jokes tonight.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Oh man, everybody complains about my shitty jokes.
So look, I mean, this is the kind of
listen.
thing that we need. We need to be sharing resources. We need to be sharing information. So that when I looked at different countries, because Canada is not my first choice, even though I think Canada is a beautiful place. The weather is not something I'm in love with, but they seem to be the lowest hanging fruit in terms of criteria to get there. Because almost every other country is exactly what you described, Traffic Man. They want to make sure that you're bringing value to their culture, and I am
Exactly.
not. So,
Except-
I have to put myself in a position where maybe that'll change.
Well,
Except
and I will
this
tell you,
Greek thing, just Traffic Man, so
yes, sir.
don't have to have any amount of money. I was living
Right.
with my grandparents. I went to 4 years of college there at the Polytechnic Institute, and they taught in English. Everybody
Listen,
speaks English in Greece.
Dangerfield, I'm going to tell you this. Where my family comes from, I mean, like we're talking a shack on the side of a hill with a couple of goats running down the road, the dirt road kind of thing. So, like as
Oh,
far
what
as
island?
money's concerned, well, half my family's from Crete, and then the other half is from oh my God, what's the name of the town? It's like northern Greece. It's super industrial. I can't remember the name of it.
Thessaloniki?
Saloniki or Thessalonica.
It's Thessalonica. That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
They
that's
call it
embarrassing.
Thessaloniki.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah, I
Traffic
used to
Man.
go up there often. I had a couple
Mr.
of-
Grease
but
just
in
got
either case,
out greased by Grandpa.
Once you get
Jesus.
that
Hey,
passport,
listen. In Danny's live, there was a question about the Greek goddess of wisdom, and I knew Athena immediately, so I don't want to hear it.
I wasn't there, and I don't give a
Yeah,
shit. You
did-
just
but
got
you knew what
smoked
I
by
was gonna
Grandpa
call you.
right
Yeah, no.
here.
Do that.
the Greek goddess of wisdom is my wife Marianne,
Yeah.
There you
well,
go. But
and she's born in the United States, but she got a Greek passport because I have a Greek passport.
well,
My kids got Greek passports. They're born here, so
well,
they're all
listen.
dual citizenship. So we
This
can
is
go
this
there
is
anytime
very
we want. There's no
right.
medical to pay. There's no
Right. That's true.
college to pay for. Education is free. Everything
Oh,
is
almost
free.
like a civilized
And I wouldn't
society.
get screwed like I
Yeah,
did
I know,
here.
right?
I had a joint account at Morgan Stanley with my mother. My grandfather left us some of his buildings. We sold the buildings and we put the money in the account. And 17 years ago, I had to pay between $12,000 and $14,000 a month for her care because they
Right.
didn't look at it as 50% mine, 50% hers. They looked at it as so long as she had access, it was her money to spend, and I wasn't allowed to. So
Well,
after 17 years, she finally gets Medicaid and she dies.
Well, I listen. I will tell you that is some good information as far as the passports are concerned. I appreciate you explaining it to me because I don't know if there was a loss in translation between Greek and English on the Hellenic uh, website, but no, that's good to know that it's a lot easier
You live?
if push comes to shove.
That's how
Where
this
do you live?
works, man. Sharing
Yeah,
information is so vital.
Where do you live?
I live in northern Ohio,
Just
which
Okay,
I will
south
tell
of
you
Dumbfuckistan.
I live in New Jersey.
exactly. No, listen, I'm about 45 minutes south of the river that caused the 1971 Clean Water Act.
Well, I used to drive up to
So
Michigan
there
to
you go.
go to college,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
to teach college. So
Okay.
uh,
Just
Well,
tell him the truth. You live in
it's not
Dumpukistan.
that big of a deal.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
like 5 hours away. You come to my
Right.
house, you spend a few days here. I got a 4.5 bedroom, a 4 bedroom, three and a half bath house
I
on
think
an
Dangerfield's
acre and
invited me to
a
his
half
house.
with 3,500 square feet. I got room for you, and
Whatever
then we'll
gets you
go
through
out
the night.
after
All
a few
right.
days. We'll
So,
Well,
this planning your escape to Greece is wonderful. Let's move on
sure.
to closing thoughts because I'm hungry. So, Dangerfield, last in, first out. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts about what?
Anything.
God, that stroke line.
I already printed out the $780 million that was taken away from medical research today. I talked about I don't know if you caught it when I wrote it down. I talked about the
Cubans?
general who got shit canned because uh, Pete Hegseth, the ROTC grad that was fired, he didn't like his
Huh.
assessment of what damage we did to Iran. He said basically we did nothing, and so he didn't like that, so he got fired. So all you got to do is say if you want to get fired in this administration, just say something they don't like.
Yeah. Yep. True enough. All right. Good stuff. Thanks again for coming up. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. Traffic Man, final thoughts.
Um, I can't believe that, in the year of our Lord 2025, I'm having a discussion where I'm possibly thinking about leaving our country.
Yeah, I
You
can.
know,
I,
well, growing
I
up,
didn't know it would happen this quickly once Dump took office, but we were all warning about this stuff last year, right? We said it was going to
sure,
be a
well,
shit
sure,
show. We said he was going to trash the economy. We said he was going to go after his enemies, and he's doing all of it.
right. But I mean, as somebody who grew up in the mid to late 80s, and lived through the 90s in going from 8 years old to late teenager and seeing the prosperity of the world and how, America and this, that, and the other, and, just all these things that were given, that were set forth. All of the older people in my life were always like, oh, this is going to be great, blah, 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 and America, blah, blah. And then here we are, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Well, part of the attitude of American exceptionalism is you have to ignore the reality of America to feel that way.
Yeah,
That was my whole problem in life is that I was never willing to ignore the propaganda. I always saw it for what it was. I'm like, you're telling me we're number one, you're telling me we're the greatest country, but where's the evidence of it? Why is it that we're the
exactly.
only developed country that doesn't have universal health care, universal college,
Right.
universal child care, laws that protect paid vacation times? Like, that's just an agreed upon thing that owners do in America. There are no
Yeah.
laws compelling American businesses to give you vacation time. That's fucking nuts.
N-
All right.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah,
And, with all this money, all this technology, we have the highest percentage of our population incarcerated. We are the most dangerous country for a woman to have a child in.
Yep.
which is, come on, man, really? Of
How
all the
how many
developed
how many
countries, because there's 59 developed countries, right? And
yeah.
we are the most dangerous country for a woman to have a child in. That's
How
nuts.
many institutions have now put warnings on travel to America, on marginalized groups in America?
Pretty much
What
all of
what
them.
is that? What are we doing? You know what I mean? Like this.
We're
Holy, like
changing
what the
into a
fuck?
fascist country. That's what we're doing.
No, we are.
You
No, we're
know,
absolutely are.
that's what you got to remember that on the other side of the planet, there are countries that have been here for thousands of years, and they've been through this
Yes,
stuff. They've seen it, and so they know the warning signs. That's why these countries have started reshuffling the deck and making alliances that were heretofore thought to be impossible. They see the writing on
exactly.
the wall. They know America is about to dive into darkness, and they're getting as far away as they possibly can, as fast as they can.
Yes. No, I mean you're exactly right. And I will leave you with this. A few weeks ago, my mother, who she was at Kent State her sophomore or freshman year in 1970, right? Okay, May 4th, 1970. She was a teacher for 30 years, retired back in like '05, all that stuff. And my mother said to me a couple weeks ago, "Why don't you have the money to buy a house like your father and I did when we were your age?" Okay, and so I got the phone out and I went to the wage calculator, if you will. And I said, "Okay," I said, "Well, how much money were you making in 1989 when we built that house? How much money were you making?" And she said, "Oh, I mean, I was only making $17 an hour, $18 an hour, something like that." And I was like, "Okay, well, let's figure this out." So $18 an hour to 2025, and I went, "Wow, that's amazing. It says I should be making $57 an hour to equal that fucking amount of money in 1989. And I'm making nowhere near that. So what the hell am I supposed to do?" And she's like, "Well, you should just save more." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Conversation over." Because I
No,
don't
I
want to go down
mean,
this
first of
road.
all, you can't out save inflation. You
No,
can't outrun the economic forces that make it impossible to live in this country. There's just no way to do it, right? So,
right,
and that
right,
and that is the common wisdom, especially of older people who who might not be well versed in economics,
right.
and they don't really understand, like, taking us off the gold standard in 71 or 72 when Nixon did it. They
Correct.
don't
Under Nixon.
understand the
Right.
impact that made. They don't understand the impact of Reagan deregulating, and as a result, companies moving their factories overseas. They don't
Yes.
understand the stagnation of wage growth, something that Biden did a good job reigniting, and now this clown just
Correct.
ended it all. So
No,
there's,
absolutely.
and look, I'm no economist. Frankly, trying to figure out the all of the moving parts of macroeconomics does my fucking head in, but I understand the
Right.
basics. And what I understand is that you cannot keep taking money away from people and putting them in a position where literally, if they miss one paycheck or if they have a health issue, they break their leg, whatever it is, have a heart attack, whatever
It's
it is,
over.
they are
Right.
one bad thing away from losing everything. That is not
Correct.
sustainable. That is not the way to build up a society. That's why FDR did what he did. He did the
Correct.
opposite. He created a safety net because any compassionate country does that. Just look at all the countries that rate highest in the happiness index and rate highest in upward mobility and rate highest in universal services. You know, Chinese people didn't know that if you lose your job, you could lose your house in America. They didn't know that that was a
Right.
thing because in
Right.
China, that doesn't exist. Once you have
Exactly.
your house, you have your house. It doesn't matter what
It's
happens to
yours.
you after
Right.
that. You know,
Exactly.
so we have a system that's insane. They first they takes taxes out of your paycheck, and then when you use the money that's left over to buy shit, they tax you again.
Again.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yep.
just a dumb fucking system. But who benefits from the system? All of the people at the top, the wealth class.
Correct.
They
And
benefit
I will
from it,
leave you.
and they buy the politicians, and the politicians keep
Yep.
doing their whim.
I listen. I will leave you with this, and I brought this up before. And before I say that, have a good night. I appreciate you having me in the live, Danny. Trivial Pursuit was fantastic tonight, even though Yoda was on his way to win. He dropped out early. But I will say this: ground beef is more expensive than an hour's work at the federal minimum wage.
Yeah.
Ground beef,
Right.
the ground beef right now, the last I saw was like somewhere between 7.75 to 8.75 a pound, and and the federal minimum wage is still 7.25 an hour.
Absolutely.
Make it make sense.
Well, thank you for all that and everything else, my friend. Have a
Absolutely.
great night. We'll talk to you
Yes.
soon. And I want
You,
to point out that the Democrats aren't coming to save you. They've done more for you than the Republicans, way, way, way more than the Republicans. Logan, I'm closing out, so I'm not having any more people on the panel, but thank you for being here. Um, the minimum wage was raised to $7.25 in July of 2009. That was 6 months into Obama's administration. And it has not gone up since. It didn't go up in the 7 more years when he was in office. It didn't go up under Trump. It didn't go up under Biden. So, the wealthy weren't taxed under Obama and they weren't taxed under Biden. So we're on our own, folks. We are on our own. Okay? So, Danny, last words, my friend.
The last president that taxed the rich was Bill Clinton. He was the very last president.
And what a coincidence. He balanced the budget and zeroed out the deficit.
Yep.
It's not fucking
So
rocket science, folks.
I paid $23 for a 3 pound pack of hamburger or ground beef. I got 4 of them. It was about 23 to 27 a package, depends on the weight. That's sad. That is, and I was a meat cutter before I came in the service, so I remember how much back in the '60s I was wrapping meat there at 69, 49, 39 cents a pound for 80% ground beef. So make that make sense. Over 50 years.
And also, like, think about this. When I was growing up, the rule of thumb for choosing an apartment or a home is that whatever you made per week was what you could pay monthly, right?
Correct.
So just to pick a number, if you made $500 a week, your rent or your mortgage could not exceed $500. And that is
Yep.
so upside down now that
Oh yeah.
you're looking at rents of $2,500, $3,500, $7,000 a month for small places. And
Yep.
then because Dump deregulated the housing market, one of the first things he did his first time in office, it let companies like BlackRock buy something like 245,000 homes, and now they're reselling them to people at jacked up prices. So this is just an impossible situation to be in.
Yeah, I was seeing a traffic man posting about a $16,000 house his grandmother bought, and she's living in it now. My very first home that I purchased in Louisville, Kentucky, I paid $17,500 on a VA loan, and the VA loan, my interest rate was just under 8% back then. When I bought my second house on my VA loan in Pierce, South Dakota, I paid $50,000 in '79, and they had raised the 10% VA loan. So it's gone up, and then it goes back down. It keeps going back up, but I agree with you. Now the house I bought down the road here, I think I told you when we visited that one day. is that it was an acre of land and it's a 4-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms, and I paid $70,000 on a home with an acre of land. That house now in where I live at now, down the road here, my ex-wife, it's up to almost $500,000 for that same house. So that's crazy. Absolutely, absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get any better. And like you said, the Democrats ain't here to save us. Not this time. It's too late. Things are out of control. The corporations have bought and paid for your Congress and senator. They're in their back pocket. No matter who's in office, they're pulling the strings of both of them. So, but we got to fight. We got to get some new blood in Congress. We got to follow our new Democratic leader. We have to support. We have to get this thing moving because if we keep sitting on our hands, it's game over. And I'm not a quitter. So I don't know
Yeah.
about everybody else, but I ain't quitting, and
I feel that.
I'm not leaving. If we have to go
Well,
to a fight, I'm
yeah,
staying right here.
that's it. Stand your ground. So, Danny, let
I have no
everybody
place to
know
go.
when your live shows are and what you're doing on Sundays.
Okay, I have a positive site. I have a positive show. It's called The Way of Positive Change. On Mondays and Wednesday, we do current events, and I do talk about everything from Donnie Dump all the way to the janitor to Queen's bathroom. And but I try to find a positive spin on what we can do to correct the situation. And I've already started talking about that. Gavin Newsom, he is a positive direction that we need to keep going in. We got to support this man. He's speaking up for us. On Fridays, we do Trivial Pursuit. It's a casual Friday. It's a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. All 3 days, it starts at 3 o'clock Pacific time and it generally runs till 6 o'clock. That's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then twice a month, I do a show called Vet Talk. That's Veterans Helping Veterans. For those people still in the chat, I'm a retired 22-year veteran that served in Vietnam. I retired in 1991. I retired first sergeant from the Army. And we talk about how we can help veterans process through the getting out of the service. Because the transition when I got out in 91 was non existent. It was not an easy road when I got out. I didn't have anybody saying, go to the VA, go do this, go do that. So we try to get veterans together to help each other talk about these programs and see if we can answer some of their questions. So that's the first and third Sunday a month and it's Vet Talk, Veterans Helping Veterans at 3 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, the first and third Sunday.
Excellent. Yeah, folks. So click on Danny's profile photo right now. Follow him if you're not following him already. I am a witness to how much fun these games are. I mean, today it was just nonstop laughing. There was a brief pause for a tantrum, but other than that, there was nonstop laughing. So come on by, folks. So, Danny, have a great night as always. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
We sure will. Thank you so much for having me up in the panel.
You got it. All right, folks. That's another Yoddah Live in the hopper. Thank you for all of you that come by, especially the regular folks, the names that we see night after night. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Vicky. Yeah, we got to 50,000 likes. Excellent. Thank you, Traffic Man. So, for the people that tap, that like, that share, that gift, I appreciate all of that. It's amazing. But more than anything else, I know that time is your most valuable commodity, and the fact that you choose to spend some of it with me is something that I will never take for granted. So until we meet again, peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.